Ready when you are. Mm. Ugh.
Okay, asa na tayo? Ano na nga?
Alright.
Nakalimutan ko na.
Last we left off, we started the final day of our trial. And in order to discover the truth behind this killing of
Stop mo kaya.
Detective
Nainip
Goodman.
ako. Gusto niya mo na rin yung ano. Bits. Ingat. Kasi nasa taas.
In order to figure out the truth behind the murder of Detective Goodman, we've decided we shall discuss about SL9 incident, the Joe Dart killings, a case that was supposedly closed 2 years ago. And during this trial, we are arriving to a very shocking and very sad truth.
Si Emma pala ang nakapatay kay Marshall.
Potentially.
No? Kasi sa pag-ano niya, sa pagtulak niya. Tama
And
ba?
it involves the Blue Badger. Dun, 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 dun.
Asa na ba tayo? Dito na?
Yeah, we're cross-examination now.
Plus a present.
We haven't done anything yet here, so
Plus pa lang.
yeah. I really should clean this up a little someday. Maybe you should buy me cleaning supplies. A brush isn't enough to clean a laptop. Air pressure thingy, cloth.
When I saw that man raise his knife.
When you say that man, I assume you refer to Joe Dark. Yes, at least I think it was him. You think? All I could really see were shadows. The power outage that immediately preceded the incident is also documented in the prosecutor's office reports. So then you...
Ayun.
Why would you do something so dangerous? What else could I have done? He was about to stab Mr. Marshall. She seemed convinced that Dark was the one holding the knife.
Ay, naisip kasi niya, si Grant. May hawak. Hindi niya naisip na si... Ayun mo pala yung nakasama.
But as we've just theorized, Mr. Marshall was the one holding the knife. Well, I didn't know that at the time. When that dark guy knocked me down, all I could think was, I've got to help that other person. What do you mean, you think? It all happened so fast, and I was in shock. I don't remember everything clearly. What I did, it's all kind of a blur. This guy was almost killed before she was witness to a murder about to take place. With so much happening in a matter of seconds, a little disorientation is only natural. I saw the man about to stab the other person, who I thought was Mr. Marshall. I knew I had to stop the man with the knife. What you did was very brave, young girl. So then what happened next? Are you sure about this? Of course, see? I even drew a picture of him there. But
It was the chief detectives who thought up this hideous beast. And that was just this year. The Blue Badger didn't exist 2 years ago. This is all quite verifiable.
I know it sounds strange. I was surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling that I'd seen him before somewhere. Now I finally remember.
Oh, brother. Just when you thought that thing had caused enough commotion. Tell us, where in the room did you see him dancing? His shadow? So you mean you didn't actually see his face with its winning smile and all?
That's right, but I still remember it. He had 3 creepy horns.
This is pointless. That thing couldn't have possibly existed 2 years ago. The witness must be mistaken. That may well be. But what's important is what caused her to think she saw what she did. Oh, and I suppose you have an explanation. If so, then by all means, please tell us what this shadow really was. What was it Emma saw when that lightning flashed? Who is this Blue Badger really? This is the last testimony, so yeah. The Blue Badger hadn't even been dreamt up when Emma drew this picture. Yet she's certain she saw its shadow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the defense's belief that on that fateful day 2 years ago, there indeed was something that looked similar to the Blue Badger. Something that is now sitting in this very room.
Mr. Wright?
In this room. Very well, Mr. Wright. What is it that the witness saw in that instant? Please show us this mysterious Blue Badger look-alike. Something that was in that room. Oh yeah, it's all coming together. Go ahead. With no hesitation. The mysterious Blue Badger was in fact this. But that's... what exactly is that?
A vase.
I believe it's some sort of jar.
But Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the Blue Badger.
Indeed it doesn't. As it stands now, it's just a plain jar. However, what if we were to change our viewpoint? Our viewpoint? I've got to show them the correct angle to look at this from. Now you gotta rotate to make the jar look exactly like the Blue Badger. This puzzle is notorious. Hand me the mouse. I'll do it for you to save us the time and trouble. This isn't right. Fuck.
Bakit? Mali?
Yeah. It's a little slanted.
Oo nga eh. Madali mo kasi. Yan. Tama na yung kanina eh. Sige, gitna mo pa. Yan. Yan. Tama ba?
Maybe a little further.
Yan. Yan.
Bam. What? Why? It's so specific. You gotta be like so perfect with it.
Angat mo lang konti. Tignan mo kasi yung picture mo sa evidence, yung pagkaka-picture ni pagkaka-picture ni Emma. Ang tsura.
Yeah, it's already there.
Angat mo pa kaya? Angat, angat. Ano, hindi nakita. Ayan. Angat mo yan. Ayan.
Oops, I accidentally presented it. Alright, let me do this a little.
Yun. Lawan na. Left, left, left. Left pa. Yan. Tapos
No, I think that's a little.
Yan. Pwede.
Yan. This is still wrong. What? Oh my god. Alright, let me see.
Bakit? Di ba nakakabawas, di ba?
Yeah. Even they knew it sucked. The bottom of the jar, the small side, has to become the top ball of the badger's head. The two handles go on either side of it. The top hole on the bigger end should be pointing towards you.
Towards you?
Yeah. The top hole. And downward if you see the resemblance presented to the court. Two handles go on either side of it. The top hole on the bigger end should be pointing towards you. Let me try once more. Alright, first let's rotate it like so.
Yan. Tama na.
Then,
Pointing at you daw eh. Yung bigger hole eh. Taas mo pa.
isn't that already close enough?
Sige nga, hindi pa natin na-try yung ganyan. No. Higa mo pa. Yan.
Why? Why does this fucking puzzle suck?
Diyan mo ulit.
The bottom of the jar, the small side, has to become the top ball of the badger's head. The two handles go on either side of it. The top hole on the bigger end should be pointing towards you. You see the resemblance presented.
Ang downward daw eh. Ito nga. Ang hirap sa mouse eh. Ang hirap siya sa mouse.
Yep, it sure is.
Ayan na.
How big does the whole? How big does this thing have to be exactly for the game to consider it
Download mo
correct?
pa kaya. Download mo lang. Sige pa. Ay hindi. Angat mo isa. Ayan. Tingnan natin yan.
We keep trying the same. Oh my god! Finally! Well, is this a miracle or what? It sure is a miracle, alright. No one can possibly deny this jar's resemblance to the blue badger. This took me fucking like 10 minutes when I first tried it. No, it can't be! Order! Order! The defense has proven its claim. The mysterious blue badger witnessed on the day of the crime was actually this.
Ano to? Ba't may kinakain? Kailangan gamin ko, Jay.
Yeah,
Pag ano, iwan mo na kababa.
I can't eat while I'm talking. Although we all enjoyed Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. Why? What's your point? What do you mean? So that badger thing was actually just a jar. That doesn't change anything. I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. You see,
There's a blood.
this changes everything. Indeed? Very well then, please tell us.
Why?
What's different now that we know the witness saw this jar? Allow me to take these in turn. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar. At a very specific angle, I might add, Mr. Wright. Yes, well, knowing this, where could she have seen this jar? Where? The location of the jar is shown in a picture taken the day of the crime. It's on a shelf in the office of Damon Gant. But the body was found lying near Lana Sky's desk. The witness testified so herself. Yes, and it's these two facts that reveal what actually transpired. You see, the struggle between Dark and Marshall did not take place in Lana Sky's office. It happened on the other side of the room, in Chief Gant's office. Are you implying the murderer moved the victim's body from Damon Gant's office to Lana Sky's office? Yes. Why would he do that? There's no reason. Exactly. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason. Do you know what that reason was, Mr. Wright? I finally figured it out. So this is why Lana tried to stop the trial. It's too late to quit now, though. The real murder weapon. Please recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. In the next instant, the jar was hit and flew through the air. Now tell me, what could have sent the jar flying? That would have to have been the impact the man made when he was knocked into the wall. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may draw your attention to this picture once more. If the man was knocked in the direction of the shelf the jar was sitting on, what would he have hit? The suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous looking sword. Yes. And since the man who was knocked into the armor was carrying a broken knife,
And since the man who was knocked in the arm
he would have had to have been Neil Marshall wielding the King of Prosecutors trophy. No, Mr. Wright, you can't be thinking. Yes, there's another possibility of what actually transpired in that room. Another possibility? Of Of course, the perpetrator would have had no idea, but nevertheless, I don't know if I can go through with this. Mr. Wright, what's the matter? If events took place as the defense theorizes, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming the man Emma Sky knocked away was actually Prosecutor Neil Marshall,
Moment of truth.
big bruh moment.
You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me?
No!
Namatay si Emma.
I guess so. I never imagined her testimony would lead to this. It was the witness who took the victim's life, and then proved so with her own testimony. This is unprecedented!
Objection! What are you saying?
I'm sorry, Miss Sky, but given the circumstances,
Joe Dark murdered Prosecutor Marshall. How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her?
imagine that coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out about what Emma did, wasn't it?
I assure you, Mr. Edgeworth, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone believe your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're going to have proof. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proves my sister killed Neil Marshall?
Evidence?
I'm willing to bet you don't.
Yes, it certainly would be difficult to prove this with evidence. If we don't have evidence, then we'll have to rely on testimony.
I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead.
Yung dalawa, si Marshall, tapos Joker.
Yeah. We certainly can't get dead people to testify unless we had Maya. This has all been a wild goose chase from the beginning. Touché, Miss Sky. Of course, that only leaves us with one possibility. Eliminate the impossible and what must remain is the truth. You mean there's still another possibility? What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? I mean the possibility that the victim has left us a message. Oh boy, for better or for worse, Mr. Marshall did not die instantly. He may have left behind the name of the person who took his life. In one manner or another.
That's impossible.
Well, Mr. Wright, this is the only possibility left to you. A message from the deceased. Does such a message exist?
I've got to think back on the court record. The real murderer's name that the victim may have left behind.
This message from the deceased is already in our possession.
Yun.
Just go with it.
Mr. Wright, bluffing. Bluff until you make it. Just keep going. You'll find it while you're trying to make people believe that it exists, even though you don't know yourself it exists yet. Will you stop at nothing to prove my sister a murderer?
Do not be mistaken, Miss Sky. Our purpose is not to accuse Emma of any crime. There is only one thing we seek: the truth. No matter how painful it may be. Now then, Mr. Wright, please show us the piece of evidence that conveys a message from the deceased.
There's still one thing left unsolved about a certain item
Ito.
that we've already presented.
There's Emma's license. Ayan. Ito. lang, hindi pa na ano eh.
What kind of message does that say?
Kamay ni Emma yan. Tumulak sa kanya.
Yes, indeed. But is there a name written there anywhere?
Kamay nga ni Emma eh. Yun na yun. Ano, present ko to?
If you believe it to be the truth,
Present?
then go ahead. You're wrong.
Hindi.
You're on your last leg. We might as well save. Save in a new file just to be safe. It's gotta be in written form. That's the only logical conclusion. You better be careful or you might wind up deceased yourself. It has to be a name. Do you think you have any evidence that shows a name? Written anywhere?
Isa-isahin na lang yung mga para. Bakit?
God damn it.
Ano yan? Oh. Oh. Last day natin?
Tomorrow is Sunday.
Ah.
Anyway,
Naghahanap pala ako, di ba?
yeah. What do you believe conveys a message in written form? The name of someone, supposedly a killer.
Yan, ito lang yun.
Yeah, that's the whole picture.
Ba't parang may sulat?
That is, it's Emma's drawing. You concede, I'll be more than happy as usual. Put yourself in Neil's shoes. He got stabbed by a spear after Sky dud him. No doubt lots of blood spurted out of him. During that time, he wanted to make sure the world knew who killed it, who stabbed him via the spear from the statue.
Diba?
What would he have done? Where would he have used it? No doubt he probably would have used his own blood to write a message.
Ito, baka ito. Kaya ito, pangalan. Yung dad. yan? Hindi kaya yan?
A possibility.
Yun lang naman yung reason eh. Yun na lang, jar.
Go ahead and do what you think is right.
Kasi yan yung bumagsak sa kanya eh. Diba?
Yes. That was the thing that fell off because this is the message left by the deceased. You're correct, by the way. This is that blue badger from before, right? Oh, is he going to just speak the killer's name? If that thing could, I'm sure it would. Looks like everyone's forgotten this is just a jar. A message was left here, on the surface of this jar. What do you mean? If you look closely, you can see a faint trail of blood on this jar. It looks like someone wiped the blood away. Yes, but notice. For some reason, the blood on some of the fragments were not wiped away. Yes, there's a line here, drawn in blood. So what you're saying is these dots were once lines. Prosecutor Marshall did not die instantly. He used the few precious moments left to him to leave behind a message. One that someone apparently wiped away. But blood must have seeped into the jar where the lines changed directions. Precisely so. All we need to do is connect these points, and the victim's message will become apparent. No! Mr. Wright, what kind of message did the victim leave for us? Your Honor, I believe these bloodstains will reveal to us the answer. We've got to connect these dots to make the letters. There's only one thing the victim would have written given the circumstances. This murderer's name.
Ikaw magsulat.
Ako?
Yeah.
It's a defense attorney's duty to prove their client's innocence. That's why all I've been thinking about is saving Lana. After all my efforts, I never thought it would turn out like this. Emma. So this is the final message Prosecutor Marshall left behind. Of all people, she may not have meant it, but in the end, the one who took the victim's life was Emma Sky.
Miraingat nun pa rin ba? Wala na.
It's not over yet. See, Worthy, can't say I didn't warn you. Chief Gant, do you understand the implications of what you've done? What? What are you talking about? 2 years ago, Joe Dark was sentenced to death. He was convicted because of his final murder. I believe you were the prosecutor in the case, were you not? Ah! Yes, Worthy. Because of you, an innocent man was sentenced to death. Not only that, but you used forced evidence to ensure his conviction. But Joe Dark really was a serial murderer. That's undeniable.
Yeah. Namin na siya napatay.
I'm afraid that's not important. Didn't you know we aren't defenders of justice? What? We're merely keepers of the law. Sentencing a man to death is no light matter. Even if there wasn't any cover-up or evidence forgery, ultimately the responsibility falls on the prosecutor in charge.
Doon talaga to si Gan.
Yeah, despite what anyone may say, this fact cannot be denied. What's going on at the prosecutor's office? They might have sent an innocent man to his death.
How can he just stand there like it was his fault? It wasn't his fault.
Order! 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 The gavel's pounding fell on deaf ears. Unable to settle the crowd, the judge declared a recess. Where the trial is headed, no one knows.
Okay. Pagdilig na tayo.
I guess.
Next time naman. Hindi lang. Rest ko na ako dito. Okay. That's for the day. Let's call it a day.
Okay.
Tama ba? Wala na. Ano, malinis na.
My nose is pretty shitty.
Ayun, balakubak mo wala na. Maganda talaga maiksibo ko kasi naaano. Sa shampoo mo ng ayos. Oo nga eh. Lagyan natin ng pang ano. Gusto mo? Yung nilalagay ko. After mo na lang maligo. Para di sayang.
Eh,